"It's just a bruise, don't make a scene," my husband whispered in the hospital. But after the ER nurse saw the security footage, she made one call. When police arrived, my mother-in-law's face went pale, and the truth came out. The first thing I heard was the kettle. Not screaming, not an ambulance, not my husband's voice asking if I was okay. The kettle. I was lying at the bottom of my own staircase, ribs compressed against the hardwood, wrist bent in a direction wrists are not designed to bend, blood pooling in the soft tissue behind my eye from where my skull had glanced the baseboard, and the sound filling my house was the quiet, domestic click of a kettle switching on. I couldn't move. I wasn't sure I was breathing. The ceiling was very white and very still above me, and somewhere in the peripheral edge of my vision I could see Patricia's shoes, cream, low-heeled, tasteful, moving past my head toward the kitchen. She didn't look down. I want to be precise about that. She looked down the staircase from the top after I landed. She stood there for 4 full seconds. I know because I had it on camera, and she looked at me the way you look at a dish you've dropped, briefly, assessingly. Then she walked down, stepped over my body, and made herself tea. That's the sentence people always react to. I know, but I have it on camera, every single second. My name is Emma Walker, and I want to start with something you need to understand. I was not a naive woman. I am 31 years old. I have a master's degree in public health. I have worked in hospital administration for 6 years, and I had been watching Patricia Holloway Walker operate for 3 of them. I knew what she was. I had known for a long time. What I hadn't done, what I kept failing to do, was prove it. I married David Walker 28 months before the staircase. David is kind in the way that certain men are kind. Genuinely, warmly, and completely selectively. With me, with his friends, with strangers he encounters in the course of his day. A generous, attentive, good man. With his mother, he was something else entirely. Younger, smaller, rearranged. Like she held a frequency only he could hear. And when she broadcast it, the David I knew went somewhere and left behind a man who needed her to be right about everything. I should have seen this as the central problem. I kept treating it as a correctable one. Patricia Holloway Walker is 63 years old. She is the kind of woman who makes rooms pay attention. Precise posture, precise speech, a pearl necklace she wore so consistently, I began to suspect she slept in it. She had been married to David's father until he died 11 years ago, and she had never, in the entire duration of my marriage to her son, acknowledged that the house we lived in was anything other than an extension of her own property. David's first wife, Claire, had lasted 4 years. I knew this. I had met Claire exactly once, at a mutual friend's dinner party, 6 months after David and I got engaged. Claire had gripped my arm when we were introduced and said, with a smile that wasn't a smile, "She's going to try to destroy you. She did it to me. Document everything." And then her husband appeared at her shoulder and she became cheerful and ordinary again. And I told myself I was inheriting someone else's bitterness. I was wrong about that. The pattern started before the wedding. Small things first. The rehearsal dinner seating arrangement Patricia revised without consulting me, placing herself beside David and me at the far end of the table. Positioned, I later understood, so that every photograph from the evening showed me at the margins. The wedding gift from her side of the family that turned out to be a painting of David as a child. Just David, no space for me in the frame, which she had hung in our hallway before I had unpacked my boxes. I told myself these were a controlling mother's adjustments to a new reality. I told David, who said, "She just loves me a lot. Give her time." Time passed. Things didn't improve. My jewelry began disappearing. Small pieces first. A bracelet my grandmother had left me, a pair of earrings I'd had since college. I noticed them missing over the course of months, always after Patricia had been in the house. I mentioned it to David once, carefully, and he looked at me with the particular expression I came to dread. Not anger, but a softness that was somehow worse. "Emma, she doesn't need your jewelry. She has her own." The subject was closed. Then came the keys. I discovered 14 months into our marriage that David had given his mother a key to our house. Not a spare for emergencies, a primary key, which she used freely. She arrived unannounced. She rearranged my kitchen. She let herself in when we were at work and left evidence of her visits in small, deliberate ways. A dish moved, a window opened, once a note on the refrigerator in her handwriting that said David prefers the good coffee, not the store brand, as though she had been surveilling my grocery habits. When I asked David about the key, he said, "She's my mother, Emma. She should be able to come to her son's house." When I said it was also my house, he said, "I know, but she's having a hard time with the transition." The transition. 3 years in, still the transition. I called my therapist, Dr. Sandra Okafor, 16 years of practice, specializing in relational trauma, who listened to 12 months of these incidents and said something I wrote down and kept. "What you're describing is a campaign. Individual incidents feel manageable. The pattern is not." She was right. I just hadn't yet done anything with that information. I installed the cameras 2 months before the staircase. 4 Arlo Pro 4 cameras, 2 exterior, 2 interior, 1 facing the front entry, 1 covering the staircase and the ground floor hallway. I did it on a Tuesday while David was at work, because I knew if I mentioned it beforehand, there would be a conversation I wasn't ready to have. I told David that evening. He looked at the small white camera mounted near the ceiling at the top of the stairs and said, "Okay, if it makes you feel safer." He did not ask what I was afraid of. I noticed that. I had not checked the footage beyond confirming the cameras were recording correctly. The system streamed to an app on my phone and archived automatically to a cloud server. 30 days of storage, motion-activated clips. I had 14 clips saved and had watched none of them, because the cameras were there for a future conversation I hadn't yet needed to have. That changed on a Thursday in March. I was carrying a basket of laundry up the stairs at 2:18 in the afternoon. I know the exact time because the camera logged it. I was halfway up when I heard the front door. Not a knock, not the bell, but the specific metallic sound of a key turning in a lock I now understood had never actually been mine. Patricia appeared at the top of the stairs. She was wearing the cream shoes and the pearl necklace, and the expression she wore when she had already decided something. "You can't just walk in," I said. She smiled. "This is my son's house," she said softly. "You're just the replacement wife." I had heard variations of this before, the casual cruelties deployed with plausible deniability, the things that could always be reframed as jokes or misunderstandings if I ever tried to repeat them. I had been called David's friend at family dinners, the current Mrs. Walker to neighbors, temporary ones, which Patricia had immediately walked back as temperamental, laughing, touching my arm, but I had never heard it said quite that nakedly. I don't know if I was about to respond. I don't know what I would have said, because before I could say anything, her hands were on my shoulders. Not a stumble, not a miscalculation. Both hands, deliberate, with the full engagement of her weight behind them, and I flew. The stair edges hit my ribs in sequence, each one a separate percussion, a separate announcement of damage. My wrist hit the banister post on the way down, and bent sideways with a sensation that was more sound than pain, initially. My head missed the corner of the baseboard by what the ER doctor later estimated at approximately 2 inches. When I hit the bottom, I couldn't breathe. Not the way you can't breathe when you're winded, the way you can't breathe when 3 ribs have been compressed and your diaphragm has temporarily forgotten its job. I lay on the hardwood and stared at the ceiling and heard the refrigerator humming and tasted blood from where I'd bitten the inside of my cheek on impact. Patricia stood at the top of the stairs. She looked at me for 4 seconds. Then she walked down, stepped over me. The kettle clicked on at 2:21. I know because the camera logged that too. I don't know how long I lay there before I could move. The camera showed 11 minutes. It felt like either 30 seconds or an entire afternoon. What I do know is that Patricia sat in my kitchen with her tea, and at no point in the following 11 minutes did she check whether I was alive. I got to my phone through the kind of determined, stupid will that you access when the alternative is to stay on the floor while someone drinks tea over your body. I called 911. Then I called David, who was 40 minutes away. I did not call Patricia, who was in the next room. I gave the dispatcher my address in a voice I did not recognize as my own. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. St. Catherine's Hospital Emergency Department. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic and burned coffee. I had been moved to a curtained bay when David arrived. Patricia 3 steps behind him, having apparently followed the ambulance in her car. 3 cracked ribs, a hairline fracture in my right wrist requiring a temporary splint, a contusion above my right eye that was already darkening into something spectacular. The ER attending, Dr. Kevin Morrison, 11 years emergency medicine, the kind of doctor who moves with the low energy efficiency of someone who has stopped being surprised by anything, had given me a pain assessment and ordered imaging with the calm of a man doing a Tuesday. David sat beside me, gripping my hand with the specific pressure of someone who needs you to perform a particular emotion right now. "It was just an accident," he said, low, urgent, his thumb moving in small circles on my knuckles. "Right, Emma?" His eyes didn't meet mine. Patricia sat on the other side of him. Perfect posture, pearl necklace, her bag perched on her lap like it was a meeting and she was prepared. "Tell them you tripped, sweetheart," she said, with the warmth of someone offering sensible advice. "You've always been a bit clumsy." Something moved through me that I didn't have a name for at the time. I've named it since. It was the precise moment when I understood, completely and without any remaining room for doubt, that my husband knew, not the full history. Maybe not the deliberateness of the shove, but he knew something had happened, and his first instinct, before asking if I was in pain, before asking what I needed, before any of the things a husband does, was to manage the story. 3 years of she doesn't mean it like that. 3 years of she's just protective, Emma. 3 years of watching my jewelry vanish while he told me I was being paranoid. I looked at the curtain instead of at either of them. The door opened. The nurse who came in was maybe 35, with short natural hair and a badge that said Kelly, RN, Trauma Care. She did the brief practiced visual assessment that emergency nurses do. Me, David, Patricia. And something in her expression sharpened by a degree that was invisible if you weren't looking for it. "Mrs. Walker," she said, "I need to examine your injuries privately. Hospital policy." David stood immediately. "I'm her husband, and I'm her mother-in-law," Patricia added, with the smooth confidence of someone who had never once been told no, and did not expect to start now. Kelly didn't blink. "Both of you. Outside. Now." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. There was a quality to the stillness she held that foreclosed argument, and David and Patricia both moved without further discussion, which told me something about both of them. The curtain fell shut. Kelly came to me. "Emma," she said, not Mrs. Walker. "Emma, did someone push you?" The question was quiet and direct, and completely without performance. She was not asking to make conversation. She was asking because she already knew the shape of the answer and needed me to confirm it. My throat closed. 3 years of being called paranoid. 3 years of small humiliations carefully constructed to have no fingerprints. 3 years of my own husband's voice saying she doesn't mean it like that, over and over, until I had begun to actually wonder whether the problem was my perception. I have proof, I said. Kelly's expression shifted, not surprise, but a specific sharpening of attention. What kind of proof? Security cameras, I said. I installed them 2 months ago. The staircase is covered. I paused. I haven't checked the footage yet. She took my phone from the bedside tray as carefully as if it might break. She opened the Arlo app. She navigated to the motion clips from that afternoon. She pressed play. I watched her watch it. Patricia entering. The exchange at the top of the stairs. The hands on my shoulders. Deliberate, two-handed, unambiguous. My body going forward. The fall. Patricia at the top, watching. The 4 seconds. The walk down. The step over. The kettle. Kelly watched it twice. Her hand went over her mouth after the second viewing. When she looked at me, it was not with pity. It was with the specific certainty of a professional who has just had a suspicion confirmed. I'm going to make a call, she said. Through the curtain, I heard Patricia's voice in the hallway. Smooth, measured, the performance of a reasonable woman managing a difficult situation. David, darling, perhaps we should look into therapy for Emma. Her fixation with those cameras, the accusations she makes, it isn't healthy. After everything I've done to support this marriage, and my husband answered, I know, Mom. Once she's stable, we'll figure out what she needs. I closed my eyes. The tears were quiet. I didn't have the energy for anything louder. Then the door opened. Kelly walked back in. Behind her, 2 officers in uniform. 1 woman, 1 man, both with the alert stillness of people who have been briefed. She held my phone up, screen facing outward. Emma has footage, she said. The officers watched it on the small screen. I watched their faces instead. The female officer, her badge said Hernandez, had the controlled expression of someone keeping her reaction professional, but her jaw tightened once, briefly, when the camera showed Patricia stepping over me. In the hallway, Patricia's voice was saying, perfectly capable of explaining what happened. She just needs to calm down. Officer Hernandez stepped past the curtain and into the hall. Ma'am, she said, we need to ask you some questions. The silence lasted exactly 2 seconds. Then Patricia's voice cracked into something higher, sharper, unmanaged. David, tell them she's unstable. The cameras are an obsession. She's been paranoid since the beginning of our... David, tell them. David appeared in the doorway of my bay, confused first, then angry. Then his eyes found my phone, still on the paused footage, his mother's hands, my shoulders, the exact geometry of what had happened. His face went completely white. He looked at me. I didn't say anything. His throat moved. Officer Hernandez from the hallway. Ma'am, I need you to step this way. Patricia's voice. I want my attorney. I want my attorney immediately. But in the half second before she rebuilt the composure, the quarter second before the mask slid back into position, her eyes had found mine through the doorway, and what I saw in them wasn't guilt. It was panic, because she finally understood something. She had spent 3 years operating on the assumption that I was the replacement wife, temporary, manageable, biddable, a woman who could be worn down and dismissed. She had not accounted for the cameras. She had not accounted for Kelly. She had not accounted for the fact that I had been quietly, methodically, building a record for 2 months. The officer who came to take my formal statement was Detective Raquel Martinez, 12 years with the department, currently assigned to domestic violence and aggravated assault. She was compact and unhurried, with close-cut hair and the specific quality of attention that belongs to people who have spent a career listening to things others don't want heard. She sat in the chair beside my bed with a notepad and looked at me for a moment before she said anything. Mrs. Walker, she said, I've watched the footage 3 times now. I want you to walk me through the context, not just today, the full history. And I did. I told her everything. The jewelry disappearances, the key David had given Patricia without consulting me, the unannounced arrivals, the temporary comment and its immediate retraction, the way every incident had been constructed to be individually deniable, the way my husband had, over 3 years, consistently chosen the interpretation that cost me rather than the one that cost his mother. I told her about Dr. Okafor, Detective Martinez wrote without interrupting. When I finished, she looked at her notes for a moment, then looked at me. You said your husband's first wife warned you about your mother-in-law. Do you have contact information for her? I did, somewhere. I had deliberately avoided using it. It had felt like aligning with someone against my own marriage, and I had spent 3 years trying to save my marriage. I told Detective Martinez I'd find it. She nodded and wrote something. Then she looked up. Before we proceed with the formal report, she said, there's something I need to tell you. Her voice shifted register, still professional, but with a particular weight. I recognized the name Patricia Holloway Walker when it came through on the call. We had a file on her, an old one. She paused. David's first wife, Claire Renner, Claire Walker at the time, filed a police report 4 years ago. She alleged that her mother-in-law had pushed her down the stairs of the same house. The room went very still. The report was withdrawn. Detective Martinez continued. Claire Walker withdrew it 6 days after filing it, citing a desire to preserve her marriage. The case was closed, but the original report is on file. She looked at me steadily. This is the second time. I didn't say anything for a long moment. She knew that, I finally said. She knew Claire withdrew the report. She knew it worked once. Detective Martinez didn't confirm or deny, but she didn't disagree. I'm going to be honest with you, she said. With the camera footage and the prior incident, we have a strong case for felony assault. The fact that you have documented evidence of a pattern, the jewelry thefts, the unauthorized entry, adds context. Whether you want to pursue this is your decision. decision, and it will be your decision alone." She closed her notepad. "But I want you to make it with full information." I thought about David in the hallway. "Once she's stable, we'll figure out what she needs." I thought about Patricia stepping over my body, the kettle, the tea, the 15 minutes of waiting while I lay on my own floor. "I want to pursue it," I said. I filed the report from my hospital bed. Kelly stayed with me for the duration of it, which was not part of her job description, and which she did without being asked. She was the person who held my phone while Detective Martinez documented the footage formally, establishing chain of custody. She was the person who brought me water when my voice gave out halfway through the account of the fall. She did not once suggest I was overreacting, and I want to note that specifically because 3 years of the opposite had calibrated me to expect it. My attorney, Nina Park, 9 years of family and civil litigation, referred to me by Dr. Okafor 3 weeks earlier when I had first started considering my options, arrived at the hospital at 6:15 p.m. She was 38, efficient, and entirely unsentimental in the way of someone who has decided that sentimentality is a luxury her clients cannot afford. She reviewed the footage on my phone, reviewed the police report in progress, and then sat back and looked at me. "Emma," she said, "we're filing for divorce tonight." I had known this was coming. I had been knowing it for months, in the way you know something you're not ready to say out loud. Hearing it said simply and without drama was oddly clarifying, like being handed a diagnosis you already understood but hadn't been given the language for. "Yes," I said. "The camera footage is your strongest immediate asset, but we have more than that," Nina continued. "Unauthorized entry using a key provided without your consent, that's a property rights issue. The jewelry thefts, if you have documentation." "I have photographs," I said. "I started photographing my valuables 6 months ago. I have time-stamped images of the bracelet and earrings before they disappeared. I have the receipt for the bracelet. It was my grandmother's. I had it appraised when I inherited it." Nina looked at me for a moment. "You've been preparing?" "I've been a public health administrator for 6 years," I said. "I document things." She allowed herself a small, private smile. "Good." Patricia was arrested that evening. She was charged with felony assault in the 2nd degree. The prior report from Claire, now Claire Renner, again living in another city, was referenced in the charging documents as establishing a pattern. Detective Martinez's team executed a formal warrant for the camera footage, which was preserved and logged as Exhibit A. David was not charged with anything. I want to be honest about that. What David did was not criminal. He sat beside me in a hospital bay and asked me to lie about what his mother had done to protect her. He spent 3 years telling me I was paranoid while his mother walked through my house with a key he had given her. He chose her story over my body, repeatedly, until the camera footage made choosing it impossible. None of that is prosecutable. David called me 4 times between the arrest and the next morning. I did not answer. Nina Park answered instead, eventually, and informed him that all communication should be directed through her office. He texted me once after that. "Emma, I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't know about Claire. I'm sorry. I looked at the message for a long time. I didn't respond." Nina Park filed for divorce the following morning. She also filed a civil suit against Patricia Holloway Walker for the assault, the jewelry thefts, and the unauthorized use of a key to access private property. The civil filing included Dr. Okafor's professional observations, submitted with my permission, about the pattern of behavior I had described over 18 months of therapy. Claire Renner agreed to speak with Detective Martinez. She did not want to testify publicly. She wanted to confirm the prior incident, formally and on record, and she wanted to know that this time it would hold. Detective Martinez called me after their conversation. She said she wished she hadn't withdrawn the report, Martinez told me. She said she thought she was protecting her marriage. She said she's sorry she left without telling you more. "She told me to document everything," I said. "She told me the night we met." A pause on Martinez's line. "She remembers that," she said. "She said she hoped you listened." Patricia Holloway Walker pled guilty to felony assault in the 2nd degree 8 months later. Her attorney had initially indicated she would fight the charge on the grounds that the fall could have been accidental, that the camera angle was inconclusive, that Emma Walker had a documented history of anxiety. Detective Martinez submitted a 40-page case file in response, including the prior report, the civil suit evidence, and a forensic analysis of the camera footage by a digital evidence specialist named Thomas Yoon, 14 years in forensic video analysis, who testified that the motion and position of Patricia's hands in the footage was inconsistent with a stumble and consistent with an intentional push. The guilty plea arrived the morning of what would have been the first day of trial. Patricia received 18 months of supervised probation, mandatory counseling, a permanent restraining order keeping her away from me and from David's property, and the civil settlement, which covered my medical expenses. The appraised value of the stolen jewelry and legal fees was agreed upon separately. She did not go to prison. I want to be honest about that too, because it would be convenient to say that justice was complete, and it wasn't. She pushed me down a flight of stairs and watched me lie motionless for 15 minutes, and made herself tea, and she received probation. The legal system is what it is, and this is what it delivered. But her attorney's original strategy, the camera angle, is inconclusive. The fall could have been accidental. Emma Walker is a paranoid woman with anxiety. That strategy was dead on arrival, because the footage was what it was, and Thomas Yoon was what he was, and I had documented what I had documented, and the prior report existed. She had spent 3 years calling me the replacement wife. She had made a calculation about what I was and what I wasn't, about what I would do and wouldn't, about whether I had the particular particular kind of patience and preparation required to build a record over 18 months of accumulated small cruelties. She was wrong. The divorce was finalized 7 months after the arrest. David contested the property division initially, then stopped contesting it when Nina Park submitted the communication logs, showing the 3 years of documented incidents that David had been informed of and had minimized. The house went to me. My salary had covered the mortgage for the previous 18 months, a fact that Nina had documented from the joint account records, with a lien I retained against his future earnings for the period of marital loss. David sent one more message, the week after the papers were signed. I hope you're okay. I know I failed you. I looked at it for a long time, then I archived it and moved on. I am in the house alone now. It is a Thursday morning in October, 11 months after the fall, and I am sitting at the kitchen table with good coffee. My coffee, the store brand because I like it. And the light is doing something particular with the oak floors that I notice every autumn and have always liked. The cameras are still up. I don't think I'll take them down. Dr. Okafor and I have talked a lot in these 11 months about what it costs you to be in a situation like mine for 3 years, what it costs to have your perception consistently undermined by someone you trust, what it costs to tell someone you love that something is wrong and have them tell you that you're imagining it over and over until you begin to wonder whether the problem is your own mind. It takes a long time to get that back. The certainty, the simple, uncomplicated knowledge that what you see is what's actually there. I'm working on it. Kelly, the nurse who made the call that night, sent me a card 3 weeks after the arrest. It was a plain card with a small bouquet of flowers on the front. Inside, in careful handwriting, it said, "I'm glad you had the cameras. I'm gladder you knew to use them." I kept the card. Claire Renner sent me a text the week Patricia pled guilty. It said, "I saw the news. I'm glad it finally counted." I called her. We talked for an hour. She is rebuilding her life in another city with a therapist she trusts and a job she loves and a cat named Jeffrey. She laughed twice during the call. Real laughs. Unguarded. And I found myself thinking that whoever she was before all of this, some version of her had survived. That felt like the most important news I'd received in a long time. Patricia Holloway Walker is completing her probation in a condo 45 minutes from here. She has not contacted me. The restraining order is in place, and she knows it. David is in an apartment 2 neighborhoods over. He sent a birthday card in September, a store-bought one with "thinking of you" on the front, which is either sad or appropriate or both. I did not send one back. The cameras still log motion clips every day. Mostly neighborhood cats and the FedEx driver and the tree at the edge of the yard moving in wind. Ordinary footage of an ordinary life. I look at it sometimes, not out of fear, just to look. There is something clarifying about knowing that what happens in your own home is witnessed, that there is a record, that no one can step over your body and walk to the kitchen and make themselves tea and have it mean nothing. That is the thing Patricia never understood about me. She thought the cameras were paranoia. They were preparation. She called me the replacement wife. I keep coming back to that, the replacement wife, as if I were a part, as if I were disposable, interchangeable, someone to be returned. She was right about one thing. I was the second. What she got wrong was what that made me. It made me the one who knew what was coming and came prepared.